Next month, the government of Pakistan and the UN are set to co-host the International Conference on Climate Resilient Pakistan. The goal will be to bring together governments and public leaders to support Pakistan in its reconstruction efforts after a series of devastating floods tore through the nation this year, causing massive damage to farmlands and infrastructure and killing nearly 1,700 people. And joining us now, the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Thank you very much for being on the show this morning. I think, first of all, we'd like to just ask you where Pakistan stands in its recovery from such massive weather emergencies.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be on Morning Joe. As we saw in the footage you just put on the screen, Pakistan experienced the worst climate catastrophe we have ever seen and ever recorded, even going back to British colonial times, as a result of which 1 in 7 Pakistanis were affected by this event. That's 33 million people. A third of my country's landmass was underwater. While much of the water has since receded, there's still many areas of my home province of Sindh and in Balochistan that are still underwater. Where the water has receded from, it's left devastation in its wake. Our damage needs assessment is that we've seen $30 billion of damage as a result of this one climate event, which washes away 10% of our GDP. Our agriculture infrastructure, our irrigation infrastructure, people's homes, educational institutions, healthcare institutions, all damaged. And we're facing a series of challenges. The economic consequences of this, the consequences of this on our food security, the direct sort of threat to people's lives. I mean, for example, if we just take the health emergency, our malaria season has extended well beyond it usually does because there's still areas that are underwater. But we're incredibly grateful to the UN Secretary General for supporting Pakistan, and we look forward to kicking off the Climate Resilient Pakistan Conference on January 9th, through which we hope to start a process of turning this catastrophe into an opportunity to build back better in a more climate resilient manner. And if we do things right, we can ensure that Pakistan and the people affected are in a better position post this process than they were before the flooding started.
Yeah, you're 1/3 of your country underwater from this flooding. It's a sort of devastation that we can't imagine here in the United States. Of course, we have hurricanes in Florida. We see devastation along the coastlines. And of course, some laws have been changed that have made a difference on where you can build, where you can't build. I'm curious, how much progress can this international conference make to help Pakistan become more resilient when the next flood comes?
Look, I'm very cognizant of the fact that there's very difficult economic times in general. We've got the impacts of COVID. We've got the impacts of the Ukraine war. The world economy is just, in a state in a difficult position. So we see this as the start of a process for us going forward to come up with the necessary financing to address this issue. I mean, $16 billion is a lot of money. I don't imagine that we'll be able to achieve that target in one day. But what I do expect is for us to kick off this process, build awareness about what Pakistan's needs are, find those initial partners to work with, and then we will take this sort of our proposition, our plan for a climate resilient Pakistan on a roadshow and interact with not only governments, international financial institutions, but also the private sector. I believe that there is an opportunity in this crisis. We can invest in our energy transition and our green energy transition as a result. We've got the largest irrigation infrastructure in the entire world. We've got an outdated agriculture system that we inherited from the British. There's a lot of adaptation that we can get as a result of this and ensure that we build back in a manner that means that the next time we face such a climate catastrophe, that we're better prepared to cope.
Yeah, Mr. Foreign Minister, I'm sure you would agree with me that our two countries, through the years, over the decades, we've had fraught relations at times. We have talked past each other, and yet Pakistan is such an incredibly important country as the United States looks at all of the challenges that are rising in Asia and throughout your region. I'm wondering, in 2022, how are our two countries doing? Are we moving towards a better understanding? Are we talking past each other less? No. Is there hope for a stronger U.S.-Pakistani relationship?
I certainly think so. I'm extremely happy to report in the 8th month that I have been Foreign Minister of Pakistan, we've engaged in consistent, both sides actually, bilateral exchanges, high-level visits and delegations, and I'm very, very happy to report to you, Joe. I'm sure you've been following the Pak-U.S. relations for quite some time now, that in the past, say that 90% of our conversation used to be around the war on terror and terrorism, and now if you look at our readouts or our sort of engagements, I'd say 90% of our conversations are about economic opportunities, about the various other areas where we can cooperate in, including terrorism. So I think that's a positive sign for U.S.-Pakistan relations. We can't change what happened in the past, but we can learn from the past, engage with each other with realistic expectations, as you said, not talk over each other or at each other, but to each other. And in that scenario, I believe that we can build a sustainable long-term partnership that's in the interest of both our countries and both our peoples.
Well, Dan tells me that I've been generous in our conversation. He said that I gave you a promotion and accidentally called you Prime Minister. If I did that, congratulations. I will refer to you as Mr. Foreign Minister. Thank you so much for being with us.
And hope
we'll see you again soon.